So what if I told you that your mother wound isn't personal? I know it feels personal because it's a relationship between you and your mom, but what if it's not personal? What if it's mostly systemic? And that in order to heal your mother wound, you had to really consider the entire system of your family. What if you could redistribute the weight of what you feel like you have been personally carrying back through the generations of women in your family? How would that sit with you? Come on in today, that's what we're going to talk about. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I'm in my backyard because it's a beautiful day here in Houston, Texas. And I wanted to talk today about shifting the paradigm of your mother wound. And I'm going to be pulling in a talk that I did in my Facebook group called Ending the Cycle of Your Mother Wound. And so if you are interested in becoming a part of that, I'll have a link down in the show notes here on the channel, and you can come in and join that conversation. And I hope that you find some insight. Maybe you even have an aha moment as you sit and listen to this. But before we get into today's topic, I encourage you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you are tuned in every single time that I release a new video. So this week I'm tackling the topic of shifting the paradigm of your mother wound and what that looks like, and what that looks like as you move through the process of ending the cycle of your mother wound. I want to start by the idea that we should depersonalize our mother wound. And I know that sounds strange because it's the relationship that you have between you and your mom, right? It's a very personal relationship. But if we are to heal, we must give space to a new paradigm, to a new belief system. So I want to just start with some definitions to help us kind of move into this topic. So paradigm. A paradigm is a standard perspective or a set of ideas. It's a way that you look at something. I want to define trauma. Trauma is not the experience that you had that caused an emotional wound. Trauma is the scar that is left after an experience cannot be fully felt and metabolized and processed. When one is unable to process an experience, that gets stuck in your body. And I've talked about this more than one time, right? I've talked about this over and over again, that when we don't process our emotions, they get stuck in our body. And these emotions that we've been unable to process are really the scars, or really the trauma that we hold in our body that keep us from moving forward in our life. I want to define epigenetics. And epigenetics, at its simplest definition, is a genetic warning system that is passed down to us, that is created by a trauma or by an experience that never got processed or healed, never acknowledged. And so that, and it stays, or it's created this epigenetic response in our body and our cells, so that future generations are not caught off guard when something happens to them. The problem is that this epigenetic response, or this epigenetic coping mechanism that we've created, also affects our nervous system. And so our nervous system, it's what makes our body work. It's our brain, it's our cells, it's our voluntary and involuntary body functions. So it's basically like command central of our body. So let's put it in this perspective. A woman experiences a wound. A woman has an experience that she's unable to process. It never gets processed, and so it sits in her body, right? Epigenetics then creates this genetic warning system that is then passed down to her daughter, and it's activated when a similar experience is had by the daughter. Or there's something that feels familiar about a situation in the daughter where that is then activated. And the whole nervous system then operates from this foundation of this epigenetic response. And it becomes the way that she copes. It becomes the way that she protects herself until she does healing work. And she's able to connect the dots, able to connect the patterns to some of her responses to life. And many of these responses to life are subconscious. Like, she doesn't even know that she's doing them. But she just starts to see these patterns in her life that keep repeating. Maybe it's failed relationship, issues with jobs, these inner feelings of emptiness, or fertility issues, or friendships that seem oddly familiar and still wounding. Like, there's a lot of ways that this can manifest. And so if coping mechanisms, right, are fueled by her childhood, and by these epigenetic responses, and then they're passed down through the generations. Well, then we're going to rinse and repeat, right? And so when you consider the paradigm that you hold for your mother, what does it contain? Does it contain memories that become triggers, that are connected to emotions, that are rooted in body memory, and then that instigate self-protective behaviors? And then again, rinse and repeat. I want to be clear. Like, what I'm not saying here is that we need to make excuses for the ways that our mother wounded us, or make accommodations for abuse in our life, either from her or from others. That's not what I'm saying here. And certainly not because of the childhood that they had or what they inherited epigenetically. What I am saying is that there's a whole system behind the way that mom learned to show up to life, that we learn to show up to life. And so shifting the paradigm of how we hold mom, of our mother wound, it means acknowledging that system. And it means taking responsibility for the role that we play in it now, in this moment, as adults, and then shifting that story that keeps us in the wounded place. So the pattern is a storyline that our inner little girl tells over and over again anytime her body memory recalls her mother wound. That's the paradigm that we have to shift. That paradigm becomes the model in which we show up for life, how we interpret the world around us, what we expect from life. It becomes the foundation for our future self. But that foundation is not set in stone. It doesn't have to become the permanent foundation from which we build our emotional home, or our patterns in life, or our relationships, or the way that we parent. It doesn't have to be that. Because when we move body memory out of us, we've talked about this a lot in my other videos, ending the cycle of your mother wound through releasing the body memory, or becoming body aware. When we move that body memory out of us, it makes space for a new story. And when we change the story that we tell ourselves, we change the neural pathways that fire together that keep that story alive in our nervous system. It means telling ourselves a new story that facilitates healing. And so what does it mean to tell ourselves a new story? What does that actually look like? Because it sounds good, but what does that mean in practice? Well, it means that as you stand in your life right now as a whole adult responsible for your own life and for your own path, it means examining your childhood experiences through the system of your family. It means being willing to see mom as a whole person and not just a mom. It means being willing to consider that things are not always as they seem. What that means is that while your understanding of your childhood is very real to you, it may not have all the facts. It may not be able to consider everything that was at play at the moment of that experience. And it means considering the possibility that patterns will repeat in our family until they are resolved. And how that continues is that it means systems marry systems, just to ensure that that pattern continues until it is resolved. It also means considering that if mom had everything that she needed, that she may have been able to give you more, to give you what you needed. It means considering that mom did the best that she could with what she had. It means being willing to lay down the fight for what you didn't get so that you can pick up new tools that can help you heal. Now, as a facilitator of this work, my job is not to help you to continue the story that keeps you in the wounded place, but to be in service to your family system. My job is to help you connect the dots and shift the story that you carry so that you can create a new paradigm, a reinterpretation of that story. One that considers the whole system, one that redistributes the weight. And this weight that you feel like you've been carrying all alone really is the weight of generational trauma. It's not personal. And that takes you from this wounded little girl that's always fighting for what she didn't get to fully embodied, empowered woman. It means literally shifting your thoughts, creating a new inner image of mom, regardless of how that plays out in your relationship. And it means diffusing the patterns and getting rid of the triggers that you carry and disconnecting the emotion from them so you can look at that memory just as a memory without the emotional trigger and emotional connection. And you do that by shifting your thoughts and rewiring your brain. And this stops the fight that you're in. It stops the fight that you show up in every single day that really is just a replica of what you did, of you fighting for what you didn't get as a little girl. And so what happens when you do this, when you shift this paradigm It allows you to stop expecting from mom what she's simply unable to give you. And it makes way for you to allow in the ways that she can love you, in the ways that she is capable, in the ways that she's prepared, based on what she has and what she's working through in life and working with, rather than the way that you expect her to. Because if you keep expecting mom to show up in a way that she's absolutely incapable of doing, it's going to keep you in the wounded place. And I know that some of us, I know for me, I held on to that story because I was like, she should have given this to me. She should have known better. She gave birth to me. I didn't ask to be here. And that's all absolutely right. But it doesn't shift the story. It doesn't change that she didn't have it to give to you. It doesn't change that you'll never get it. And I think that as grown women working through their mother wound, it's important that we admit what is, that we accept what is, so that we can move from the wounded place to the empowered place. Because that fight to keep getting those things that she'll never be able to give us will keep us wounded. But if you shift the paradigm of your mother wound, you can heal those generational and those ancestral wounds. Now, the tools that I use to help you do this are family mapping, which is helping you connect the dots in your family system, family constellations, and that is taking what you have been carrying within you and bringing it to an outer representation from which you can have conversations that you need to have. Maybe you need to have conversations with mom and grandma and others in your family system to resolve these things that have been sitting in your family soul or your family system. So, and then finally, as a clinical hypnotist, we can work together to then rewire the personal subconscious connections to the issue at hand. So we work in the family system by family mapping and family constellations, and then we do the personal subconscious work, creating new neural pathways so that you can have a different foundation from which you respond to the world, a different well from which you pull. Because at the end of the day, we learn to love, we learn to live and to survive from our childhood. And most likely it's mom who taught us that. And when mom didn't get what she needed from the women who raised her, and when they didn't get what they needed from the women that raised them, this mother wound continues to manifest down the generations. And although our mother wound feels very personal in ways that are very real to us, our mother wound really is systemic. It's not personal. And so you get to say, right, where do you show up in all of this? Because here you are, you're left holding the bag, and it's not even a good money bag, it's just the bag, right? But you get to say no more. You get to stop the patterns right here and right now, and you get to create a new paradigm, one where the women in your family have the opportunity to walk in wholeness, to walk in resolution, and where you get to create a new emotional legacy. And that is powerful work. So I do this work in private sessions and in groups. In January, I'm starting a new group session, and I'm limiting it to 10 people, and it's called Ending the Cycle of Your Mother Wound. It'll be held over 3 modules spanning 2020. So module 1 is 6 weeks, or 6 sessions. Module 2 is 6 sessions. Module 3 is 6 sessions. And there's time in between for you to really integrate the work into your life, into your body, and to really shift this paradigm that you've been carrying this mother wound in. In Module 1, we're going to explore the family system, our bodies, and our mother wound. So we're going to look at this whole thing of what is showing up in your family system, how is that sitting in your life, in your body, and how is that manifesting in your life right now, and how then can we start to bring resolve to those. And we're going to start some constellation work and meditation work and hypnosis work in session 1. In Module 2, I talk about your mother wound manifesting through relationships and through parenting and, in the things that you create in your life, whether they are children or businesses or creative ventures. Our mother wound shows up in the ways that we create. And then Module 3 is transforming your mother wound by just stepping into your true self. And in this module, we're going to do the work of grieving a childhood that we'll never have. And really stepping into accepting what is, and then using that foundation to rebuild this image of yourself and rebuild this image that you carry from mom. So all modules build upon each other and become the foundation for the next. So I'm placing any links below that you have, I'm placing all the links below for the series that's coming up, and also a couple of articles. Number one, what is family mapping, what is constellation work, and then the link to read a little bit more about the 2020 series. Thank you for watching this video. I know that you have lots and lots of choices here on YouTube for what you watch, and I'm just thankful that you came and spent some time with me. I hope that you found some insight, and as we explore more of this topic of ending the cycle of your mother wound, I hope that you continue to come back. And I wish you courage along your healing journey.